Earlier this year, Lexus showed us the LFZ electrified concept, and I saw it when I was in Plano, Texas, giving you guys hands-on coverage at ToyotaCon HQC 2021. Well, Lexus has finally given us some teaser images of the RZ. Well, that's going to be what its production name is called, of the LFZ, and there's a lot more information here than you would think. Over at the Lexus newsroom, peek at the newest Lexus electrified vehicle. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. Talk heavily about Lexus. That's what this channel kind of started out as. I used to sell for Lexus back in the day. But let's get into what we just saw on the screen there. There is a video provided, and there's also images. We also finally have confirmation that the vehicle is going to be called the RZ. It's been trademarked for quite a while now. More specifically, the RZ 450e, which we'll get into details about powertrains here in a little bit after we break down the images. Lexus Europe is also posting the same sort of information, just worded a little differently. And then there's actually nothing on the global Lexus or Toyota newsroom about the RZ yet, which I thought was pretty peculiar. Okay, so how we're going to do this: on the top of the screen, you're going to have the LFZ electrified concept vehicle, one of the most gorgeous concepts I've seen. And then we're going to have the production images of the RZ down below, and we're going to kind of compare and contrast here. There are a lot of similarities. There's also a lot of differences. All right, I didn't expect the taillights to be this ornate. I have no idea how much that would cost to even put this sort of taillight into production. Instead, we have the more widely adopted Lexus Light Bar that goes across, fairly similar to what we see in the new IS, for example. It kind of fins up like we see in the Lexus UX and the IS. Next image of the headlight. There's no way they're going to have all these individual striations here. People pointed out that would be an absolute nightmare to clean if you get bugs in it, which it's going to happen. But the overall shape and design of the LFZ, the outlines, the body lines, is still here in the RZ. We have this new iteration of triple beams. This is your nighttime low beam, and I'm assuming these triple beams will be to aid the single beam over here for your high beams. It's just a guess. Now, underneath the so-called headlights on the concept here, we have Lexus Teammate cutout. I don't see any cutouts for Lexus Teammate yet. I'm assuming this is just a headlight washer cutout. And the daytime running light is getting more and more squished. This is the most squished Lexus daytime running light I think I've seen. We have the real stubby one on the RC, but yeah, nothing quite this narrow. Now, looking at another angle of the rear taillights, we have some actual striations from the LFZ electrified concept come in, but of course they're enclosed to be protected, of course. Now down here at the bottom, we have a charging port on the left side, and then we look at the right side of the vehicle, we also have another charging port. So I'm guessing you could charge from either side. Now this is kind of surprising to me, is that we have a wing here on the top of the lift back that is very similar to what we see in like the BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra. And instead of this taillight fin that sticks out of the rear glass, they just put it on the back of the lift back. Now, they will keep the Lexus naming and writing out of the Lexus on the back, just like they started with the NX, the LX now, and now this RZ will have it. And it's roughly in the same spot as in the concept, just sitting above the light bar there. Here's another look. You can see just the difference here between the smooth top of the concept and then the spoiler that we have at the top of the liftback on the production version. All right, time to compare silhouettes. We'll start on the front and work our way back. And if you just overlay the images on one of another, they're actually pretty similar. The body lines from the front fender go all the way to and through the front door, just like they do on the concept. Now we have actual mirrors instead of camera mirrors here on the side. We have digital latch door handles that the new Lexus NX has given us, and these are going to be the exact same door handles on the Lexus NX seen here on the Lexus RZ. We don't have the body lines of the bottom of the vehicle, unfortunately, but we do have this second body line that starts kind of on the front door and goes to the C pillar here. like it does in the concept. We still have that floating roof line. It actually looks a little bit more accentuated here because a normal roof. It's not just a glass canopy. And I'm sure there'll be a panoramic moonroof in here, or sunroof, whatever you want to call it, just like we see in the BZ4X. I don't know if we're going to see a solar charging option like we see in the BZ4X. To me, it's almost worthless, but I know some of you guys, if you're parking outside or something, maybe you can take advantage of that. And this is the best look we have at the production wheels. Here's a better image of those wheels. They're just the most stunning concept wheels I've seen in person. They just look like they're straight from the future. Well, hate to break it to you guys, they're not going to be coming to the RZ. What's confirmed is that this is going to be a BZ4X size vehicle. I don't think it's going to be much bigger than the NX in terms of dimensions. Of course, when you get on the inside, you're going to have more legroom, more interior volume as well, because you don't have to make room for exhaust systems, gas tanks, or drive shafts going through the middle of the vehicle. And we have a look here at the front. I'll bring up the front of the LFZ as well, so you can see just how similar these lines are. Now, this area at the top of the bumper looks very BZ4X Hammerhead Shark-like, which, I mean, Toyota's found an aerodynamic way to make their vehicles, so no surprise there. And just like the concept, the Lexus logo is inset into the bumper a little bit. It's kind of shaded at the top, similar but not as aggressive as the concept version we see at the top. I guess here's a better image of that front end. And we still kind of have that piece of glossy black plastic here. I don't think it's going to be quite as see-through as what we had on the concept here, but what we're seeing here is fog overlaid on a render. So I can't wait to see what it actually looks like with a real camera on a real prototype instead of a render. So RZ450E is trademarked. I made this spreadsheet a long time ago trying to figure out what kind of powertrain is 450 indicative of, or at least how much power 450 is indicative of. Well, I put on every single Lexus 400 to 500 series vehicles, not including the LS 500 or the LC 500 or the IS 500. If you look at the RX 450H as we know it right now, it has 308. If you look at the GS 343, anyways, I think it's going to be around 308 horsepower. And I put it onto this EV spreadsheet that I've been working on for a long time now. Some of the numbers are up to date, some of them are not, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. So I have some options here that could actually come to fruition. So here we have the RZ450E sitting right below its Toyota sibling, because they're both based on the TNJ-E platform or the eTNJ platform. I think the RZ will be all-wheel drive only. I don't think they'll have different variants of it. I think more than likely there will be one battery pack. I don't know how big that is, but I don't think Lexus is going to give us a whole lot of choice here. I think there's going to be like, you can have a premium model or you can have a luxury model. Kind of what's going on with the BZ4X. They gave us an XLE and they give us an Limited, and you can get in front wheel drive or all wheel drive. I honestly think that we're just going to have an all wheel drive variant here. So the 308 horsepower is probably going to be taking the front wheel drive motor from the BZ4X, sticking that in the front of the RZ450E, and then putting a roughly 106 horsepower, 107 horsepower motor to power the rear wheels. And that's how we get the 308. Now, if they use the same battery pack from the all-wheel drive model BZ4X, which, I mean, it's Toyota we're talking about here, just about every single Lexus and Toyota powertrain is shared between the brands, right? Besides, you know, like the 5-liter V8, for example. Just about everything else is. So I would expect the battery more than likely to be around 20 or 72 kilowatt hours. And that's roughly what the battery is on the all-wheel drive BZ4X. It'll be heavier. It'll have a larger rear motor, a larger front motor. It's going to have much more interior luxuries, amenities, as well as sound dampening. So the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking that this is going to be around 200 miles of range. And if they can sell it for around 50K, I think there are going to be tons of Lexus buyers lining up. They have one of the most loyal followings in all of car fandom, and they would be happy to fork over 50K for their first Lexus crossover. Now, that's entry price. My guess for the entry price of the Toyota BZ4X is upper 30s. On the all-wheel drive, maybe around 40 or low 40s. So if the RZ 450e just costs 10 grand more, is 10 times quieter, more luxury on the inside, looks way cooler, then I think it could easily command a $10,000 price tag. But if Lexus wanted to, they of course could put a 100 kilowatt hour battery in their RZ. I think they would probably save it for bigger vehicles, the 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. I just don't see Lexus going that big with a big battery pack. I know that they could do it, but whether they are going to do it or not, I just don't see it, especially with them sharing so much with Toyota vehicles and being able to produce at a high volume to reduce production costs. That's why I think they'll just use a battery pack from the BZ4X. 0 to 60 will be around 5.5 seconds. Of course, it would be less if they put a really fat battery pack in there and not change the motors at all. 50K might sound too good to be true. So let's just put 60K here. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Would you be buying a $60,000, 200 mile, 300 horsepower RZ 450e fully electric, or would you, for about the same money, buy an NX 450h Plus that has similar performance, but none of that range anxiety sort of thing, because obviously it has a gasoline engine in it as well? I don't know, guys. That's a really, really tough question, and I'll leave it to you down below on what you would pick. For the same price, NX 450h Plus or RZ 450e. Fingers crossed it costs about the same as a NX 450h Plus. If it's significantly more, Lexus might have a tough time selling it. Anyways, guys, I'll see you down below in the comments. Smash the like button if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video. Peace out.